hope everyone is all right today. I am Jamarl Thomas. I am your host. This is the Progressive Soapbox. I hope you like the new intro. The colors are going to get shifted a little bit because I'm a fan of blue more so than red. In the UK, I know that's kind of the Labour or the momentum thing. This is not the UK. And I don't necessarily even think he did the colors with that in mind. But nevertheless, that's going to be somewhat of the new intro with a few tweaks around the edges. I hope you guys are having a good day up to this point. I'm going to start a new series called News Bites. Now, these are going to be stories that don't necessarily warrant an entirety of a show, or at the very least, they could bear an entire show, but for the most part, don't necessarily warrant it in the context of other things that are going on. But I want to clear my queue. I have a Twitter page that is full of items that I want to do stories on. Not all of those items warrant an entire show. Some of those items are just kind of a heads up. But those are still items in many respects that I would like my audience to know about. So let's start with this. In fact, I'm going to have a series of these today just to clear my queue and to clear my page. Local elections in the UK. Now, Tory Armageddon, that may be an exaggeration just from the context of what Armageddon typically means, but not much so. They were expected to lose. They were expected to lose big, and they exceeded all expectations to the degree to which the Tories lost seats. 1,334 conciliar seats. Gone. Up in smoke. Now, this went to Lib Democrats, but it also went to a lot of the, independent parties. A ton of seats went to independent parties. This is a complete repudiation of what's taken place with regards to singular issue, Brexit. That was the issue that continuously came up. Brexit. That was the thing that the public wanted to get across their utter and complete disdain. I made this point that oftentimes people aren't fully engaged in their local politics. And what they pay attention to is, in the United States, federal politics, maybe even state politics. But they pay attention to big-time politics in regards to what the parties are doing in a macro way. And that influences, in fact, shapes their perspective of the party itself. Meaning when they go into a local election and they go to pull a lever or put their finger on a button, in large respects, the perspective that they're taking is the perspective of the larger parties, the stuff that they're seeing in the news, the federal politics, maybe even state. The local elections, my point was, back then, can be a representation of what is taking place on a much larger level that goes beyond the local. And this is essentially what took place in these elections. The Tory party lost 1,334 seats. The interesting thing and the wild thing is that the media is reporting this as if this was somehow both. Like both parties have been repudiated by the public. Now, when you tell me both parties have been repudiated by the public and you say the Tory party lost 1,334 seats, if you're telling me both, I need to come to some notion that there's a parity here, that there's a commonality here between these two numbers. Labour lost one number. I thought it was a bit over 100 seats, but let's say at worst, 150 seats. It wasn't that many. There is no parity between those numbers. Like, you could say, yeah, it's bad that they lost those seats, but there is no comparison between 1,334 seats and, let's say, 150 seats. The last thing I read, it was 80-something seats. But I'm giving the worst case scenario because I could have swore I read somewhere it was over 100. But nevertheless, my point is there's not a parity here. You can say Labour took a hit. Yes, Labour took a hit. But if this is Labour taking a hit, then the Tory party has been hit by an asteroid, flying at relativistic speeds, having something akin to taking a chunk of the earth with it. Like, there is no parity here in comparison between 100 seats and 1,334. That's my point in this case. Theresa May, add insult to injury, had to endure this. Immediately after losing, and she has to face the public, this is what happened. Whoa, what's going on? All right, you can hear from here.
Thank you, everybody. And
why don't you resign?
They can clap out all they want. What that guy said is not necessarily, he's not singular in that belief. And the fact that he's not singular in that belief, or evidence that he's not singular in that belief, is that they tried to change the rules in order to bring another no confidence vote on Theresa May. Under the current rule set, you can't bring it twice within the current season. The prime minister gets to essentially live her life out up until, I guess, the next parliamentary session. They tried to change the rule set. The prime minister essentially had enough votes in order to block them from that, but the fact that they tried to change it to get her out in the first place gets across a certain degree of angst that they want her out. Here's the odd point. She's trying to do a deal with Corbyn. As evidence of such, she opens a letter, a message, in the Daily Mail on Sunday to one Mr. Jeremy Corbyn, penned by Theresa May, pleading with him for a deal. Now, after you lose 1,300 seats, it gets across a certain degree that the public does not like what you're doing and that the public massively disapproves. Now, we know clearly Jeremy Corbyn has no interest in assisting Theresa May with a problem that was started by the Tories. It was the Tories that called for this referendum. It was the Tories that lost this vote. It was the Tories, Theresa May, that decided to call a snap election that saw her power breaking, in which case this Conservative Party now had a minority government. And it is the Tories that set red lines on which they were going to have Brexit. It's the Tories that was divided and couldn't make a choice, meaning between the Brexiteers. She didn't make a choice between the Brexiteers and the other part of the party. This is a problem that she herself has caused. And he has no reason at all the incentive in the world, from the standpoint of his party, is to let her fail to a degree where a snap election has to be called, in which case, as you can see, he will likely rack up. By the same token, he has a larger obligation from the public that's looking at him, that if he's being too craven in his pursuit of power, in his pursuit of taking, number 10, he will be punished for that. So the politics here has to be a little bit of both. Now, his argument is, I put out what I want to see accomplished, and if the prime minister is willing to step across that line, then maybe her and I can talk. And it seems that the prime minister at this point, desperate, broken, is willing to step across the line to some degree. We have no idea to what that is. Corbyn's main thing has been a customs union, not the customs union, meaning the single market of the European Union, but a customs union. A new arrangement between the UK and the European Union that's specific to Britain. It didn't seem like the EU was against that. So we'll see what happens. You would imagine that the Brexiteers in this are entirely against this. Here's the odd point, though. Theresa May will not be allowed to call a snap or another election because, and she's threatened them with this, by the way, saying that, look, if you guys don't pass my plan, she's threatened them with Brexit and she's threatened them with a snap election. They denied her this because they understand what was going to take place. The reason that she could use this as a threat is because they know that they'll lose, and they know Prime Minister Jeremy Corbyn will take office. And that is their absolute Armageddon, and not just on the Tory on the local level. So right now we're in a situation where there are talks between the Labour, the two major parties. She's going to lose her Brexiteers. By the same token, she may pick up Labour members. Whether that's enough to get it over the finish line, some hypothetical deal that these guys come to some kind of agreement with, is unclear. But at this point, she's come with hat in hand to try to get Corbyn assistance on getting something passed. So I'm going to end this here. 10 minutes is not that horrible considering I had an intro. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. And this...